This is Alexa Donne, and today I have something a little bit different for you. I'm not going to be talking about books or writing, kind of. I am going to be talking about college admissions. In addition to writing books, I've been working with teens for several years on college admissions essays. I've helped students get into colleges such as Yale, Harvard, UC Berkeley, Wellesley, Smith, the list goes on. I really enjoy it. I also work with private clients through college essay advisors. I'm going to be linking some of their videos towards the end of this video. You'll see them over here because CEA is amazing, and the person at the head of CEA, Stacy Brooke, is a genius. I have learned so much from her, and she has an amazing YouTube channel with lots of tips for writing a great college essay. Today, I'm going to be addressing one of the questions that I see come up a lot on College Confidential, on the Applying to College subreddit, and when teens ask me in person. And that is, when should they be doing what to get themselves into college? What do you do as a freshman, a sophomore, a junior, and finally as a senior? When should you start? So at no matter what point you're watching this video, whether you're in 9th, 10th, 11th, or 12th grade, I'm going to have some tips for what you can and should be doing right now to smooth the college admissions process. Now, juniors and seniors are going to have the most to do, especially if you're a junior right now when you're watching this video. Get ready, because I have a long list of things for you to do. But it is never too early to start. But it is too early to worry. If you're in middle school or 9th or 10th grade, take a deep breath because my list for you is pretty short and pretty attainable. For you seniors, senior year is the big year. I know you're really stressed and you're probably freaking out right now, which might be why you're watching this video, but don't worry. It's going to be okay, and I'm going to help you get through this. So let's start with freshman year. What should you do in 9th grade to prepare for college? Well, the answer is easy. You need to have fun. Seriously, get involved in activities that are interesting to you, that you enjoy. Sign up for all the clubs. You're brand new to high school, you're getting to know people, and you're figuring out what life is all about. You're 14, 15 years old. You are not supposed to know exactly what you want to do with your life or where you want to go to college. Deep breaths. Be a joiner. Join things. Clubs, activities, sports, extracurriculars. It can be through your high school. It can be outside of high school. If you were doing activities in middle school, if you like them, keep doing them. If you don't like them, now's the time to stop. 9th grade is a perfect transition time for the activities that you are involved in that are eventually going to go on your college application. But don't worry, if you start doing something in 9th grade and you don't like it, you don't have to stick with it. Now, the other key thing that you should be doing as a freshman is getting the best possible grades that you can get. It is a rough transition from middle school to high school. High school is harder, it's more structured, there's more stress, and there's more activities to do than ever before. You feel like people are asking you to carry the world on your shoulders. You're supposed to take a full course load, you're moving into more challenging classes, you're supposed to get really good grades in them, and then you are supposed to do all of these different activities. I am encouraging you to have fun and sign up for activities and try different things, but never at the expense of your academics. If you feel like you're struggling and your grades aren't where you want them to be, talk to someone. The first person to talk to is actually your teacher. Your teachers are there to help. Don't go in complaining if you get a bad grade. Ask for guidance like, hey, I'm really struggling here. This is new for me. Can you give me tips for studying? Or, let me know how I can do better on my next paper. If you go in open-minded looking for guidance, the teacher will respond in kind. They'll be more open-minded about helping you, more likely to possibly bump a grade that wasn't so good or offer you extra credit. And just if they know that you care and that you're trying, you're going to have a better relationship with them, and ultimately that is going to help you get better grades. Now, sometimes 9th grade in high school is just hard. And you might not get amazing grades. And if you have a really rough freshman year, take a deep breath and don't panic. It is going to be okay. Colleges care about what is called an upward trend. So as long as you can show that over the course of 4 years, that after a rocky start as a freshman, that your grades steadily improved, especially in more challenging classes like honors classes and AP, you can tell a good story with your academics. So all is not lost if you have a rough freshman year. But if you're going into freshman year, keep it in the back of your mind that your academics are really important. Don't let them fall by the wayside. And that's it. That's all you have to do in 9th grade if you're thinking about college admissions. Join things, have fun, and keep your grades on track. It's that simple. Now, sophomore year. This is when you're really gelling in high school. You should have your feet under you academically, or at least have a sense of what you need to do to succeed in high school. You've tried clubs as a freshman, so now as a sophomore, drop anything you don't like. Signing up for things in 9th grade is not a life sentence. If you did a club for a year and you just aren't that into it, or if you tried an activity and it doesn't suit you, now is the time to drop things. Like maybe freshman year, you saw that the drama club was kind of awesome, but you were too afraid to join. Sophomore year is the time. Drop the things that aren't working for you, pick up the things that are, and dig into the activities that are gelling for you. Get to know people, volunteer to take on projects. This is my cat. So get involved, be engaged in the activities that you know that you like, because we're setting up dominoes for your junior and senior years, which I'll get to in a minute. And again, as a sophomore, get good grades. If you had a rough freshman year, the stakes are honestly higher as a sophomore. This is when you need to start showing a positive grade trend, or generally keep up the good grades that you started in freshman year. I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty of, say, how many AP classes you should be taking. This is going to vary on a case-by-case basis depending on your high school and the course load that is available to you, as well as what you want to take. But generally, if your school offers AP classes, sophomore year is the year that you want to start layering them into your schedule. But I wouldn't go overboard. I wouldn't say that you need more than 1 or 2. Now, the summer between 10th grade and 11th grade is a key summer. This is the first summer that you're going to want to do directed activities that will pay off for junior and senior year and eventually your college applications. The first thing you want to do, if you are able to, or if you're a real overachiever, or if you're nervous, is start studying for the SAT or the ACT. You're going to be taking these standardized tests for the first time as a junior. Now, overachievers, don't start studying before the summer after your sophomore year. You really need to complete sophomore year and, learn what you're going to learn in 10th grade before you can effectively take the SAT and the ACT. If you take it as a sophomore, it's just not as useful data. Junior year is the sweet spot for taking your standardized tests. Sophomore summer, depending on how old you are, also might be the time that you're going to get a part-time job. In a lot of places, you have to be 16. If you want to get a job, or if you need to get a job to support your family, this is the time. You might also be going to summer camps or participating in summer programs, but don't stress out if you're not, because those are the bread and butter of junior summer. Now, junior year is the big year. Senior year is a little more stressful, but junior year is when you are going to be laying up all of the dominoes that you're going to knock down when you do your college applications as a senior. This year is critical academically. This is the year that you need to get the best possible grades in the most challenging classes. Remember that grade trend again. If you are recovering from a rough start, junior year is your nose to the grindstone year where nothing matters more than getting really good grades. In terms of APs, this is when you're going to step it up. If you didn't have APs as a freshman or a sophomore, this is the year you're going to have at least 1 or 2. But if you're in a school with a lot of APs as a junior, you're probably going to have 2/3 of your course load is going to be AP and honors. You have to be strategic about what classes you take as well. At this point, I know it's stressful, but if you have any idea of what kind of things you want to do in college, what you might want to major in, and where your strengths lies, typically that's going to split down the line of science and math and humanities. You want to strategically choose your AP classes so that they are in line with your interests and your strengths. Don't sign up for AP Chem just because everyone says that you should sign up for AP Chem, because AP Chem is hard, and it is better to get an A in honors chemistry than a C in AP Chem. But of course, if you follow the Ivy League circles, they say that it's better to get an A in AP Chem than it is to get an A in honors chem. But know your strengths. Your application to college is going to tell a story about you. It's going to tell them the things that you're interested in, the things that you're good at. Don't take a really hard class in something that you don't have any interest in or that you might not be particularly good at. If you're not going to major in a science, you don't need to take AP Science classes. There, I said it. So this is the year that you are going to ramp up your activities and, again, the things that you enjoy doing to the next level. Go for leadership positions in the clubs that you're in and activities. If you do something like drama, audition for the bigger parts. If you do service-based activities, start suggesting projects to do and spearhead those projects. Be project leader on, campus cleanup or whatever project makes sense to your school and your community. Or at this point, you've been in high school for 2 years. Maybe there's something that you really want to do, that you want to spearhead at your school, but the activity or club doesn't exist. Start it. Maybe it's a junior league chapter or an art club or a volunteer activity. Take initiative and follow the things that you love. This is also where, if there are any competitions available to you, enter them. They could be academic contests, artistic contests. Follow the opportunities that are presented to you through the things that you're doing and that you're good at. You don't need honors and awards to have a great college application, but if you do get some, they look good. Colleges aren't looking for superheroes. They're looking for genuine human beings. They want to know who you are, what you enjoy, what you're good at, and what makes you tick. It's not about building a resume or checking boxes, but about being a real person and doing the things that you enjoy. So junior year is the year that you want to start distinguishing yourself. If leadership opportunities aren't there as a junior, make yourself invaluable so when senior year rolls around, you're going to get that president role in the art club. This is also the year to forge close bonds with key teachers. Again, you're going to want to think about what you might want to do in college, even if you're undecided. Again, think about your strengths. Are you amazing at English or, geography, science, math? Get close to those teachers, not in a manipulative way. This should be organic. Who are the teachers that you really click with, who have a real sense of your work and who you are as a person? It could even be someone who sponsors the club or activity that you work in, or your coach. You want to think about who knows you, likes you, and might be able to write a good recommendation. Now, recommendations aren't going to get you into college by themselves. Neither your counselor recommendation nor a teacher recommendation. But they could be the thing that pushes a school, especially an elite school, over the edge. If a teacher writes that you are the most incredible and passionate mind that they've taught in 20 years, that's going to matter. Now, don't stress out, because we don't all get recommendations like that, but it's at least better to have a warm and genuine recommendation from a teacher who actually knows who you are than kind of a succession of tropey phrases from a teacher who, barely knows you. Don't just ask a teacher 1 month into senior year that you've never had a class with before. Think about these things as a junior. And in fact, you're going to want to ask the teachers that you would like to write your recommendations to do that in the spring of junior year. Target, say, April, May, or June, around the time that school's getting out, but not when they're super stressed about finals and the end of school. You want to ask them and get them to agree before the end of school so that you can give them your brag sheet or whatever information that you need to give them before summer lets out, and they can work on your recommendation over the summer. Now, in the spring of your junior year, you're going to want to take the SAT or the ACT for the first time. Now, about which one, it's up to you. Colleges accept both, and typically they don't have a preference, but the SAT is more widely used. That said, the SAT has caveats. It's only language, essentially English, and math, whereas the ACT has the science section. So if you excel in science, the ACT may benefit you. You may do better on the ACT in terms of your composite score than you do on the SAT. The thing about standardized tests is that they're all about preparation. the incredibly annoying thing about them is that those who can afford to prepare are more likely to do better. And ultimately, standardized tests don't really matter. They don't make you smarter or dumber than other people or better than other people. And in 20 years, it's not going to matter what you got on the SAT. Frankly, it's not going to matter in 5 years. Once you get into college, no one really cares. And the people who do care aren't the kind of people that you want to hang around. But they're a necessary evil. So junior year is the best time to take it. Take it in the early spring, but you'll have multiple opportunities to retake it in the late spring and early summer should you wish to. You want to get your first score because that is your standardized test baseline. You have an idea of the score that you get the first time you take it, and then you can strategize from there. You can study on the areas in which you were the weakest. Let's say your math score wasn't as good as your English score. You can drill down and study math. Some schools accept super scoring, which means you can take the best scores from the individual sections of your standardized tests and put them together to create a super score. Some schools don't accept super scoring. So you want to have that in mind when you're strategizing. If you have a dream school, though we're going to talk about dream schools at one point, I don't like them. But if you have a school that you really are passionate about, but they don't accept super scoring, then you're going to have to strategize that you need to get the best possible score on all sections in a single sitting. But otherwise, you can think about super score, which actually takes the pressure off. If you aced math the first time that you took the SAT, you can focus on the English section and the next time, really nail it and hopefully bring up your super score. Of course, you can also take the SAT and the ACT as a senior. A lot of people do. There are tests in September, October, November, and December of every year. But I think that is a little too late to be the first time that you take it, because what you get on the SAT or the ACT is going to shape the college list that you put together. There are just certain score thresholds that aren't going to work for certain schools. There's always a unicorn situation where if you got a 1200 on your SAT that you might get into Harvard, but it's statistically unlikely. So if you know that that is your baseline, you can strategize, take the test a few times, and if you can't break a certain number, you just are going to strategize your reaches, your matches, and your safeties differently. Another thing that you might want to do as a junior, but this is fully optional, it's going to depend on your location, your financial situation, and your schedule. But junior year is the time to start visiting schools. You can do it earlier as a sophomore or even a freshman if you really want to. But junior year is when you have a much better sense of kind of who you are as a person and what you might want out of college. So take college visits, see what the campus is like, take the tour, ask questions. You'll start to get a sense of the places where you feel comfortable. But that said, sometimes you go to a college visit and it's not sunshine and rainbows, but you still might end up going to that school and really liking it. So keep an open mind even if you don't have a perfect school visit. But I'd like to give a really important disclaimer, which is you don't have to visit any schools if you don't want to or if you can't. It's not going to impact your ability to get into school or go to school and enjoy it. I didn't do a single campus visit. I ended up accepting and going to a school that I had never been to before, and it worked out just fine, and I didn't have points docked because I couldn't afford to visit as a junior. Something I want to mention for any of you watching who might be on the lower income end of the spectrum, there are programs to help you, and the biggest one that I want to recommend is called QuestBridge. This is a program specifically for high-achieving, low-income students to help them forge pathways to get into college and to afford college. There are 2 program sides to QuestBridge, and the first you're going to apply to in the spring of your junior year. This is a college prep program. So if you're selected, they're going to hold your hand and help you with all of the essentially things that you need to do as a junior. They'll be there to support you. And if you're selected for the college prep program, you have a better shot of getting into their QuestBridge Scholars Program, and that application comes in the fall of your senior year. But I wanted to include it in the junior year discussion because if you're interested in the prep program, that deadline is going to be spring of your junior year. Now, the summer between your junior year and your senior year. As I mentioned, this is definitely going to be the summer where if you are getting a job or doing a summer program, junior year is the year. A lot of summer programs won't let you do them until you are a junior. So if there are competitive programs or camps or honors that you want to apply to, they're going to happen your junior year, and you're going to do them the summer between junior and senior year. These sorts of programs are not going to make or break your application. Again, don't freak out if these opportunities are not available to you. First of all, if you're a student whose parents can afford to pay for a fancy program at, say, an Ivy League school, that's amazing, and you should go and you should enjoy yourself. But it doesn't make you a better applicant than a student who couldn't afford it. Colleges aren't dumb. They know how expensive these programs are, and they understand the mechanics of privilege. So if you're not able to go to Harvard for the summer, you are not at a disadvantage against a student who has that opportunity. Now, there are scholarship programs that you can apply to in a wide variety of areas to these such programs, and you absolutely should take that opportunity if you can. During the summer, you need to step up your research efforts. This is when you actually have to start building a college list, and I know that's really stressful. And how do you even find a college, or how do you know which one's going to be good for you? I'm going to have videos all about that, so don't worry. The other thing that you're going to have to do, and I know you're groaning right now because you really don't want to do it, but you're going to have to start your Common Application essay. So the Common App is your new best friend. It is the most common way that you're going to be applying to colleges. You sign up for it, and there's a portal, and most major schools participate in the Common App, and you can add the schools that you're interested to your list. You fill out a core section that has all of your basic information, and you only have to fill it out once, and it's submitted to every school that you want to apply to. The same goes for your essay. You're going to write a 650-word essay about yourself, about your life, your aspirations, and again, there is enough about essay writing and writing your Common App essay to fill hours of video. And as I mentioned, I'm going to link to some CEA videos at the end of this so you can watch the amazing Stacy Brooke tell you all of her trade secrets. But essentially, you're going to have a set of prompts to choose from, and you should start working junior year summer. The last thing you want is to get to fall of your senior year when your course load is the most intense that it's ever been, and you can't mess up your grades because your senior year grades do matter, and I'm going to talk about that. And you have to manage all these different applications and the supplemental materials for your applications, and you're in leadership positions in your clubs. Senior year is a tornado. It is crazy. So you want to get started on your essay as soon as possible, and really if you want to, you could start during your junior year. They release the prompts in the late spring, but generally the Common App prompts don't really change. They in fact have 2 prompts that are essentially choose your own adventure, where you can write about anything you want, so technically you could write your essay at any point. Now, some of you attend schools where writing your college essay is actually a class assignment. It'll often happen in your English class, or some schools have a separate college prep class. That might happen in junior year, and if it does, I applaud your school for being way ahead of everything. But it also might happen senior year. But don't wait for that class. I could go on at length about English teachers, and they are wonderful humans. But some of them are very ill-equipped to really help you write a stellar college admissions essay. A college admissions essay is a personal memoir. It is you on a page. It is 650 words of story and detail and character and personality. They're not easy to write, and I fully give you permission to bang your head against the wall and scream and cry at how much you hate them. And so a lot of English teachers, they know essay form. And essay form is fantastic for academic essays and making points, but not so good for personal memoir. So I don't advise waiting for your English class, but instead, think about you can walk in as a senior and have this amazing piece of writing already complete. So summer of your junior year, you want to start brainstorming and thinking about what you want to write. Jot ideas down on paper. Do a first draft if you can. Draft a couple of different options. You're going to have to write supplemental essays for a lot of your schools, especially if you're applying to any of the schools in the top 50. Almost all of them have some kind of supplemental. And often the ideas that you try for your Common App essay but disregard end up working for your supplements. So try different things and save everything. The other thing you're going to want to do this summer, and it ties into that research portion, is think about your application strategy, what you need to do and what you want to do. Are you going to apply early decision to any schools, or are there any big scholarship programs that you want to apply to? Both early decision and certain scholarship programs have early deadlines. They're going to surprise you in August, September, October. And so you want to be prepared. Start thinking about it in the summer of where you want to apply and what pieces that you need to start working on early. That includes your essay. And most of these things require writing, and that's again why you want to start working on your essay that summer. So the other thing that you're going to have to do as a junior or in the summer before your senior year, when you're doing your research and figuring out school lists, is have a very awkward conversation with your parents about money. I'll have a whole video about college and money, but the gist of it is you're going to have to ask your parents how much money, realistically, can they provide per year to pay for school. Sometimes your parents are going to say, oh, don't worry about it, we'll cover it. But the reality is that most of your parents went to college when college cost nothing. They also went to college when it was a lot easier to get in, so they may not understand the college admissions process, why it's so stressful, why you have to apply to so many schools. Most parents, regardless of when they went to college, just don't have a firm grasp of how financial aid works, or loans, or how expensive the schools are. When you tell them that the average private school is $65,000 a year, they're going to fall out of their chair. And most of your parents don't have $65,000 a year to spend on college. Now, if you are in a middle income or above bubble, the thing is you're not going to get generous financial aid. Your parents are going to wave their hands and say, oh, you're going to get a scholarship, but that isn't how it works. We'll talk about financial aid that's need-based versus merit scholarships and which schools do which in a future video. But essentially, you want to go in assuming that you're not going to get a full ride to a bunch of schools. What's your real budget? That's going to help you make your college list. Some of your parents are not going to want to talk about it. They're going to say that, the finances are none of your business because you are their child. The thing about college admissions is that this is the moment when you take your first step into adulthood, and your parents may not like it, but paying for college is a mutual issue. You need to know realistically what can happen, and they need to be honest with you. So once you know the budget, that's going to help you look at schools. Something that your parents can do, including and especially if they are keeping their financial details close to the vest. That means it's their job to go on the various college websites that you're interested in and do the EFC calculator. The EFC is the expected family contribution that the college is going to expect your parents to pay. Every college has to have one. That is a federal mandate, so you'll be able to find them for all of your schools. If you don't, that's concerning. Your parents will fill it out with their basic financial information. Typically, the EFC doesn't take into account things like real estate holdings and other assets. It's a very basic calculation. But it can give you a really good idea of what schools are going to ask you for way too much money and which ones might realistically be in your price range. This will help you build your list. We're eventually going to talk about reaches, matches, and safeties. But a key thing with matches and safeties is that they need to be affordable. A reach can be unaffordable, but ultimately, if you know you 100% cannot afford a school, you might not want to apply to it. It's a waste of an application fee and everyone's time. This brings me to senior year. This is the big year. It's when you're going to actually apply to colleges and everything culminates. Now, like I mentioned, you line up those dominoes as a junior. Now, if you're coming to this later and you didn't take all of those steps either during junior year or during junior year summer, you have to do them now as a senior. So you need to take your SAT, you need to work on your essay, build a college list, etc. But let's assume that you've done those things. Senior year starts. You're going to have a really challenging course load, probably the most challenging that you've had, and it's really important to keep your grades up. Senior year grades do matter. By the time you apply, most schools will be seeing your first semester senior year grades. Your early decision schools might not, but they're going to ask for them, and they can and will rescind a decision if your grades nosedive. Hopefully you asked your favorite teachers who will speak well of you for recommendations when you were a junior. But if you didn't, you want to do it early in senior year. Wait until the first or second week of school is done and then ask. If you did ask before, you're going to want to collect those from your teachers in September or October at the latest. You want to make sure you have all the pieces you need ahead of applying. I mentioned early decision before, and if you are planning on doing early decision, October tends to be the sweet spot. Most of the elite schools are going to have early decision deadlines between October 1st and November 15th. Now, like I mentioned, there are SAT and ACT dates in the fall of your senior year. Hopefully, though, you took your test in junior year and you're happy with it. But if you didn't, or if you're not, make sure you sign up for this September testing date. October, November, and even December are fine, but it's cutting it really, really close for score delivery and retaking the exam if your scores aren't where you want them. If you didn't write your essay or if you're not done with it, September, October is go time. Dig into your Common App essay, work on it, do the brainstorming, the drafting, the variations, polishing, sharing it with people. Because once you have that, as I mentioned, you're going to have to write supplements. Now let's assume you're aiming for schools whose deadlines are in December. You're going to need to work on those supplements in October, November, and into December. You want that main essay done because supplements can be really overwhelming, and every school expects you to tailor what you're writing to their school. There's a lot of research, a lot of thought, and a lot of work that's going to go into that to craft a good application. Schools can really tell when you're rushing or you're half-assing or you don't really care about their school. So it's important to not only have a tailored list of schools that you genuinely have interest in, but to spend the time that's required on each individual application and their supplements. You're going to need to have another awkward money conversation with your parents. Applications cost money. Every single time you apply to a school, you're going to have to pay for it. And some schools' application fees are in the $70 or $80 range, and I wouldn't be surprised if some of them hit $100 soon. It is not cheap if you're applying to a good number of schools. And nowadays, it's smart to apply to a spread of schools because it's so challenging to get into them. So you're looking at a sizable budget, and not all parents can just write a check for $2,000 in November or December. I mean, you probably want them to buy Christmas or Hanukkah presents for you, not pay for your college applications in lieu of gifts. So you want to have that conversation early. That's why it's important to solidify your list before senior year so you know how many schools you want to apply to, when their application deadlines are, how much those applications cost, and devise a strategy with your parents. I advise suggesting that they segment out the budget. Let's say they can afford $2,000 on college applications, but not all in 1 month. Do some applications in October, some in November, some in December, and so on, because some of those private schools do have deadlines in January, so you could split it up over as many months. And the common application will open in August, so if you're a real early bird, technically you can apply incredibly early to your schools. Now, this might also come up junior year. But if some of the schools that you're interested in come to your city or even your high school and they have information sessions, attend them. What's really important with a lot of schools is demonstrated interest, and it's exactly what it sounds like. It means that you demonstrated interest in their school. Schools use this to essentially separate people who might be shotgunning and applying to a school because they've heard of it versus a student who actually cares and is invested and interested in a school. Going to visit a school and touring counts towards demonstrated interest, though as I mentioned, you're not screwed over because you can't afford or that you're not able to visit a school. But that's why the info sessions are incredibly important. Attend them if they come to your city. Alternately, you can also reach out to admissions with any questions you have. Anytime you have contact with the admissions department, they're going to tick a box and it goes in the column of your demonstrated interest. Now, as to actually applying, don't procrastinate. That is my number one piece of advice. Don't leave your applications to the last minute, because that's the moment when you're going to discover that your parents didn't fill out their financial aid form and they need a thing and it's going to take a week to get the thing and then, you're past the deadline. Or, you procrastinate and you don't get your teacher X on time and then it's this rush to the finish. Or you rush your essay or your supplements and the work ends up being sloppy. Don't shoot yourself in the foot. Plan ahead of time and do the work. So that's what you should be doing to prepare for college admissions in a broad overview and nutshell for freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior year. I'm going to have lots of videos coming that dive into all of the detail areas. I've already mentioned a lot of them, and there's so much information, and I know you're overwhelmed, but I am here to help. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please subscribe. There's more coming on all of the facets of college admissions. And have a great day. Bye.